Good evening, Mr. Madisson.
Oh, Emil.
How are you tonight?
Very fine, thank you. Now, I hope Armando's been able to change our reservation. We called a little earlier.
Yes. Your table is all ready.
Good.
Right this way, please. In fact, Mrs. Madisson is already here.
Mrs. Madisson?
Oh, darling. And Deborah, how lovely you look.
Nola, what is this?
This, darling, is a table for 3. Please, sit down.
Owen, what's going on here?
I don't know. I certainly didn't arrange it.
No, darling, I did. I thought it was time for the 3 of us to sit down and talk about things.
That sounds like something out of one of your old movies. Only you forgot to add, like, civilized people.
Nothing wrong in being civilized, is there? Or being honest?
Nola, look, if you want to talk, we'll talk, but not in a public place, for God's sake.
But we may never have another chance like this, darling. Deborah, please, don't you agree that it's time to decide which one of us this man really wants?
I don't know how this happened, but I am not in the mood for playing games tonight, Mrs. Madisson. I'm surprised you are, considering what's happened.
Oh, you mean about Eddie? You think I should be home in mourning?
I think you should be home resting, Nola. You've had a bad experience. You could have died in that fire yourself, you know.
Yes, and wouldn't that have solved this little triangle?
Oh, and I can't take this anymore.
Don't you think you owe me a few minutes of your time? Oh, I know, of course, you're outraged at the moment, aren't you? Because I've intruded on your little rendezvous. But believe me, this isn't the first one I've attended. The only difference is you haven't seen me.
Meaning you've been spying on us?
Yes, well, I hope that gives you pleasure, darling. So you can feel that you were the one who was being wrong, not me. But deep down, you know very well what the truth is. That you're the offender. A cheap little husband stealing a tramp.
Owen, I'm sorry.
Deborah?
Yes, sir. May I get you something from the bar?
No, thank you. Thank you. All right, Nola. Looks like you're not going to have your little 3-way conversation, so why don't you just go ahead and say what you have to say to me, right?
Is there anything left to say?
Oh, I think so, yes. First of all, you can tell me how you knew about this dinner. What have you been doing, listening in on my telephone conversations?
I heard you making the reservation. I called the restaurant back and made it for 3.
Nola, I have tried to be honest with you. Now, I told you about Deborah. I told you that I was seeing her. What did you expect me to do? Tell you every single time we met?
No. That would have been awkward for you, wouldn't it? Oh, Owen, I'm sorry. I don't know how to behave myself. I don't know what lines. Look, but what I do know is this is my fault, what's happened.
I
all
didn't
of it.
say it was,
But it's
Nola.
true. I've been such a poor excuse for a wife. Owen, I hate the woman I've been. I hate her. I don't blame you for hating her, too. But don't you think it's possible I've changed? Oh. Look at me. Owen, I am different. Can't you see it? We have Eddie to thank for that. Poor Eddie. He forced me to change. He made me work again, and it's brought back my self-respect.
Has it really? Tell me, Nola, is it your self-respect that made you do this?
No, this was desperation. Because I am desperate. Desperate to save the most important thing in my life, my marriage. Owen, please, give me the chance to do that. Just one more chance.
Brian, don't you think it's strange of Uncle Eddie's lawyer to fly all the way out here from the coast?
I guess there are just some things that have to be decided.
Important things, like where Uncle Eddie would have preferred to be buried.
You know, if it turns out that Eddie requested burial in California, Dad and I might just find ourselves accompanying the coffin out to the West Coast.
Brian, please, don't say that.
I'm sorry, Paige. I'm even sorrier that you won't be accompanying us out there.
Why? What difference would it make, really? You wouldn't see me anyway, would you?
Of course I would.
Yeah, family reunions.
Sure, anytime.
But you don't mean that, Brian. You'll be so relieved to be on that plane heading west. You'll be so happy to be in California. When I'm here, 2,000 miles away from you, far enough away to be forgotten.
No, Paige. I'll never forget you.
You don't mean that. Because you've told me a dozen times that you can't remember me the way that I want to be remembered, Brian.
Paige, it isn't always easy to control your thoughts.
I know that. I've told you what my thoughts were. I was willing to behave in a way that most people would find revolting, but I was willing.
And now?
Your unwillingness changed my mind.
So, the offer is withdrawn.
Oh, don't joke about it, Brian.
I'm sorry, Paige. I don't mean to joke. I don't find it very funny. In fact, I think it's just about the most unfunny thing that's ever happened to two people. What's happened to us?
Then we've made the right decision, both of us. You go to California and I'll stay here. That way, the only thing that'll be between us is an occasional postcard and a telephone call, long distance, but just to say hello.
Paige, no, Paige. Paige, the hard part is going to be saying goodbye without really saying goodbye.
I guess it can't be avoided.
No. It goes with the territory, as they say.
Maybe when you go to the airport with Daddy and you're ready to leave for California, maybe we should just say goodbye for good. Going out.
Yeah, well, that's just what it looks like, Chief. I mean, this guy, Eddie Vaughn, was playing all sorts of tricks on the soundstage of that movie, and just for publicity.
Did he kill himself just for publicity?
Well, I don't think he would have had an encore.
I'll save the jokes for the coffee break, okay?
Well, what I mean is, I don't think he meant to kill himself in the fire, although there's little question that he did start it himself.
You have got a positive witness who saw him with the gasoline can.
Absolutely. Owen, Madisson's son, Brian, saw him take the can out of the family garage and put it in the trunk of his car, although at the time nobody knew what he intended to do with it.
We're still dealing with an arson case, Deputy. You gotta remember that. Arson with intent to defraud the insurance company.
I just don't think that's what Mr. Vaughn had in mind.
But you don't know that.
Well, no, not for sure, but Detective Saxon can verify that absolutely all of the strange things that happened on that soundstage were done deliberately. I mean, the guy had all sorts of tricks rigged. Slide projectors and dummy ghosts and lights rigged to fall on cue.
And this was going to be his last big stunt, is that it? All right, I suppose we have enough problems around here without trying to prosecute a dead man.
Well, that's the way I figure it. So, case closed?
Unless the local authorities want to do something about it. But as far as I'm concerned, file it, Deputy.
Right. Chief Mallory, I would like to speak to you about this deputy business.
What about it?
Well, of course you know that Chief Marceau made the appointment before he left. I just don't want you to feel stuck with his decision. I mean, I won't take it personally if you decide to bust me back to the line.
It's back in the line now. I thought that's what you wanted.
But I've still got this title. Look, if you should decide you want to name somebody else to the job, it'll be all right with me.
I'll think about it, okay.
Right. Oh, yeah, you told me to remind you about that murder suspect, Earl Stokes, the one that Deborah had the APB put out on.
Is he located?
Yeah, they brought him in about half an hour ago.
Saxon going to interrogate him?
Yes, but she's not due in until 10.
Well, let me know when she gets here. I think I may sit in on that one. I'm very interested in the way Saxon handles her cases. I don't think she's been on top of them lately.
Look, Chief, it's just that Deborah's just had a couple of personal problems, that's all.
Oh, well, I've had a few problems myself. Yeah, this hangnail's been bothering me for a week.
I'll see you later.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi.
Aren't you kind of early?
Yeah, I decided to give the department an hour free.
You look pretty. How come you dressed up?
Oh, I was at a little party. Didn't turn out so nice. Listen, did you get any word from the TCR on Earl Stokes?
Oh, yeah, good news. He's in interrogation room B. Wait, don't you want the file?
Hey, Saxon, do you want to see me about something?
Oh, boy, I swear you turn up everywhere, don't you? All right. I'm gonna get it back at the Super Bowl.
Well, you're gonna keep me company, cute stuff?
I am Detective Saxon. You can forget the cute stuff.
Detective, no kidding. You know, I've always wanted to be pinched by a lady cop, and vice versa.
Look, I think you know why you're here, Stokes. Marcia Blaine was your mistress for the past 2 years, and according to at least half a dozen witnesses, and there is no way that she could have fired the gun that killed her.
What's the matter, Detective? Your hand is shaking.
Look, Stokes, you can make this very easy for both of us. Just answer the questions.
And you look
all right?
like you've been crying. What's the matter, honey?
Listen, Stokes.
I figured this is where it was. The way that dress fits, cutie, it couldn't be anywhere else.
Hey, Stokes, listen. Do you know where you are?
You think
you
I
are in
want-
police headquarters.
You think I want to be here?
Just answer the questions the right way. You can be out of here.
Don't kid me, foxy lady. You got a little cage waiting for me downstairs. I've been there before.
Look, you are going to go right back there if you don't give me back my gun.
Look, I'm leaving without answering any more questions. You're getting me out of here right now.
Look, you're crazy. You're not going to get halfway down the corridor.
Well, then neither will you. You think I give a damn about squeezing another trigger? You know I killed Marcia. The whole damn building knows it. I only wish that you were her so I could kill her again. But come on, get on your horse.
All right. Just listen to me. There are at least half a dozen armed guards out there.
All right. We'll play it the smart way. You'll tell them you're taking me downstairs to get me booked. Only we'll take the elevator to the second floor basement, not the first.
Been
to the
here
garage.
before, huh?
That's right. And then you're going to drive me out of town, sweet, sweet thing. After that, we'll see. Come on, open the door.
All right.
Well, I'm going to sit in on this one, Saxon.
Chief, I'm taking the prisoner down to be booked.
How come? I was told you just arrived.
Not for murder, for possession. He's got my gun.
Ow! Oh! Greg! Oh! Greg! Get it! Ah, you're choking me! You're choking me!
Get out of my sight.
Do it! Do it!
You can talk to that cell. All right, what happened?
Well, I was a little careless. I left my purse on the desk, and he grabbed it.
And he just took your weapon away from you.
Yeah, I made a mistake.
He looked like he was ready to use that gun.
Oh, I think you would have, too. Well, at least he admitted that he killed Marcia Blaine, and we can book him for murder on that.
Detective! Detective! If he had taken you hostage, not only might you have been killed, but other officers as well. You realize that, don't you?
Yes, I realize that. I already admitted that I made a mistake. What else do you want me to do?
Came here an hour ahead of schedule. You look like you're dressed for a party. What's the matter? Wasn't the party any fun? Is that what your problem is? Is that why you can't keep your mind on your duty?
Maybe it was. I don't know.
I think you're going to wish you stayed at that party tonight.
use a drink.
So did I. But I won't have one. There may not be much you can give me credit for, but that at least.
Oh, I give you credit for that, Nola. So what's this? A letter from Brian. Dear Mom and Dad, I've hit the sack early. Paige has gone to a movie. Eddie's lawyer called. She'll be arriving here this evening. She?
Well, isn't that interesting? Did you know Eddie's attorney was a woman?
No, I didn't. Well, man or woman, I'm glad that she's coming here. I want to get this thing settled once and for all.
Yes. Such a good feeling, isn't it? To have things settled. We have something to settle ourselves, Owen, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Owen, this picture we just finished. I don't know if it'll be a success or a failure, but we did finish it, didn't we? Together.
Yes.
It was a second chance for us. For both of us. And that's what our marriage needs, too. A second chance. Look, it may not work. I don't know if it'll be box office, but don't you think we owe ourselves a chance to try?
No, it's too late.
But it wasn't too late for the movie. It might not be too late for the marriage. When we go back to Hollywood, when we're together again and the way we were, it might all come together again. Oh, can't we at least try, Owen?
All right. We can try.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like Ms. Ackerman is here.
Owen, darling.
Excuse me, there's a Mrs. Ackerman to see.
Fine, Lily, would you just show her in, please?
Yes, sir. You come in, please. Thank you.
Well,
Hello, I'm Lila Ackerman.
pleasure to meet you. Mrs. Ackerman, my wife, Nola.
Yes, of course. I know your face very well, Mrs. Madisson.
It's a little the worse for wear right now.
Yes, of course, I understand. Eddie was a very lovable man. We'll all miss him.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Please, sit down. It was very thoughtful of you to come out all this way. Really, above and beyond the call of duty. I'm rather anxious to find out if Eddie left any instructions for burial. Of course, knowing Eddie the way we do, I'm sure he thought he'd live forever.
Don't we all? Well, I can relieve your mind on that point. Eddie did express a preference in his will. Perhaps you'd like to hear it.
Well, sure, if it's proper.
Oh, yes, it's proper. Especially as he made some bequests to you and to your wife.
Eddie did? I'm surprised. I didn't think he had anything to leave.
Well, he didn't have very much, I'm afraid. However, his ex-wife will be receiving a lump sum settlement on her alimony payments because of a small insurance policy that Eddie carried. Other than that, well, shall I read it?
Please, go ahead.
It's very brief and very impersonal, just like Eddie. I, Edward Stanton Vaughn, being of sound mind and body, although I sure get tired around 5 o'clock, do hereby bequeath the following. To my ex-wives, love and kisses. To my good friend Owen Madisson, my collection of movie scrapbooks, for whatever they're worth. To his wife, Nola, who should have been smart enough to marry me, the diamond ring in the pocket of my blue worsted suit hanging in the closet of my bedroom. The suit doesn't fit anymore, and the ring never did, since I never had the nerve to give it to her.
Oh, Eddie.
The rest of my legacy, consisting of about $15,000 in the National Bank of California, stocks and bonds valued at about $30,000 if the market hasn't gone to hell in a handbasket by the time I'm gone, and a tennis racket given to me by Pancho Gonzalez, and anything else he wants in the house, I leave to my son.
Son? Is that what you said?
Yes.
No, there's got to be a mistake. Now, Eddie didn't have any children.
Apparently he did.
No, that's impossible.
Well, he did have 4 wives, Owen.
Darling, he may have, but he didn't have any children by them. Now, I know that for a fact. Unless, of course, he strayed from the pasture.
Well, is that what he meant, Mrs. Sackman? I really can't say.
You're his attorney. Surely you must know to whom he's referring.
Well, I didn't know, not when the will was prepared. I didn't know Eddie as well as you did, but I was rather surprised myself by the bequest. Well, maybe he meant it figuratively. That's possible, of course. The will was not the only document that Eddie left. There was also a letter, a sealed letter. He gave instructions to us that it wasn't to be opened until after his death.
To whom was it addressed?
To his son, Mr. Madisson. Here it is. Perhaps it will explain everything.
I don't know, Mrs. Ackerman. It seems to me that you know a lot more than you're letting on.
Well, the truth is my husband knew and he told me. That's why I thought I should come here in person and deliver the papers to you. It seemed very impersonal to simply mail them to you or tell you the contents over the telephone.
Mrs. Ackerman, what is this all about?
Perhaps you should look at this. Oh, and what does it say?
It says, to my son, Brian.